Today we're checking out a really cute puzzle adventure game called Unpetrified Echoes of Nature. Hi, I'm Informality, Info for short, and welcome to my series Informal Game Discovery. In this series, I play through the first hour of gameplay and share my experiences and thoughts as a new player. Unpetrified is an absolutely adorable puzzle adventure game developed by Dreamhunt Studios and published by Mindscape. The game was released on November 11th of 2025, and it really reminds me of like the old school PlayStation 2 games where you go out on these single player adventures, just exploring the world and uncovering things as you go for the puzzles and the other things that you can do and achieve. And the nostalgia it brings, even as a brand new game to the market, is just really, really nice. When I picked up the game to play, the very first thing that hit me was just the art style and how cute and adorable all of the designs were, and how all of that really ties into just the really pretty and cozy nature of the game's design overall. The more creatures you run into and the more you explore, the more you just get that cute, cozy feeling, as everything you look at has that just absolutely adorable vibe to it. And it's really nice to see more cozy adventure games out there to play as a really, really popular genre. When playing when I first started coming across some of the puzzles and whatnot, they're all very simple, like the mechanics of them. In that first hour of gameplay that I've done, none of the puzzles were too crazy. It just takes a little bit of thought, and it's more like just diving in and doing it than like anything super complex, at least in the early game, which is really nice and ties in with like the kind of cozier vibe that this puzzle adventure game has. When it came to like learning the controls and getting familiar with moving around and interacting with different things, it was all very simple and fairly easy to learn and get into, which is perfect for this style of game. But it definitely did feel like the mouse and keyboard was nowhere near as fluid as using a controller, which is not unexpected. A lot of the times controller is a lot more smooth with games like this, but I definitely wish it was made a lot more fluid for mouse and keyboard as someone who prefers that when playing games. Not that it was bad in any means, but it definitely did take me a little bit more to adjust and fit it into a way that didn't feel as abrupt when I was moving and looking about. So just something to keep in mind. Fiddle with your settings if you pick up this game. Get it set the way is comfortable for you, because it definitely was just a little bit jarring for me using a mouse and keyboard. Now, the gameplay loop of this game is very self-explanatory. You're just walking around, exploring, discovering your environment, discovering animals, plants, and other things, and, doing puzzles and just moving along, just continuing forward until you reach that next segment. There's nothing like overly complex or any crazy things that you really have to do from level to level. There's a lot of like collector completion type stuff in the game that I already noticed within the first hour, but none of it is really necessary to just progress and enjoy the game as it is, which is really, really cool. I mean, obviously you have to do the puzzles and, to open the next rooms and the areas and zones and stuff, but a lot of like your interactions with the environment are not necessary, but going out and exploring just really gives you a lot that you can do, even though there's not a lot there, which sounds contradictory, but it just felt good all the way around. And one of the really cool things that I liked about it was like this butterfly discovery mechanic where you could use your little butterfly companions and see what there is around you to like interact and be involved with, and what you haven't played with, and kind of shows you direction you need to go to get to that item, instead of, you know, just wandering aimlessly and covering every inch of ground until you find it. You can, you know, use your butterflies to like lead you towards the path that you need to go to get that, you know, to interact with that item and to get that part complete of the game. It also has like one of my favorite things I've seen become a lot more common in games is these like resting chill spots where you can just sit down and enjoy the game's music, the environment, or whatever else, like as a little pause area. It's definitely become a much more common thing in games, and they're so nice to just be able to, like, as someone who plays like multiple hours at a time, you know, to just go up to one of these spots and sit down on them and know that while I'm on that, the game is just going to sit there and wait and be essentially paused for me, but in a pretty way. And then I can go get a snack, go get a drink, you know, play with my dogs, whatever, and come back and just pick up right where I left off. But everything just feels like I sat down to take a break, which is just, it's such a cool thing that that's become a more normal integration to games in the industry. Now, I did run into some pretty, like, not so great pain points with the game when I was playing during that first hour. As I kind of mentioned before, it's not as fluid on mouse and keyboard. Like, the camera movement sensitivity is based off of your, you know, mouse sensitivity for your PC itself. And as someone who has it really, really high, it was so high for me. And I had to make so many tweaks to kind of get it in something that I could actually use. It's also not really clear on when the game saves. When I'm quitting the game, and I did play a little bit after my initial recording and coming in and back out, but it's not apparent when it saves, and there's not really any easy, quick way to tell where are you going to come back to, because you don't know when it last saved. So when you're like going out and doing stuff and you're just wandering about, if you just go ahead and quit and leave, I didn't notice any indicator that it, was saving at that location, or any indication of, hey, you're going to get backtracked to this. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I didn't want to like lose progress or anything like that as I was playing. So you got to be a little bit aware of where you quit the game, which is not the greatest. They have already put out an update, so I'm sure that is going to be along one of the things that they will improve out of the game at some point, because it is certainly not really aligned with the more cozier sphere of gaming, where there you have like a lot of freedom and can just pop in and out whenever. But it's not terrible. You don't lose a ton of progress, but it can definitely throw you for a little bit of a loop. Now, the biggest pain point for me was actually a bug in the game that would soft lock you and make it so you could not do anything and had to close the game and completely reopen it. And that was really not good, but they have already fixed that. They have addressed that issue. I just happened to do my playtime for this game before that bug was out. So even though I'm talking about it and showing it, I do want to be very clear that they have fixed it. So they are paying attention, they are aware, and they are actively like continuing to follow up on like feedback and reports and stuff for the game. So even though it's a pain point, it also showcases that the developers are there and ready to support and fix pain points for players. Now, when it comes to the playtime versus cost metric, the game at full price is $19.99, which is a very common like adventure game price. Now, I am estimating that this game will take me between like 8 to 10 hours of playtime to get all of the achievements and finish the story, which puts the game at about $2.49 per hour. Now, I like to go for $1 per hour for my, the best metric. I'd like to keep my games under that metric. But it is extremely common for more adventure story games to sit above that. Now, while I would absolutely prefer the game to be under the dollar per hour metric, and even on sale at $14.99, it doesn't quite drop under that metric. It is still a really, really nice game. Now, I got the key for Unpetrified through Lurkit, and you can check out the game, wishlist, purchase it on Steam using the Lurkit short link in the video's description. Now, this game, I probably wouldn't have picked it up at full price. I definitely would have put it on my wish list and kept an eye on it because I do really, really enjoy these more adventure, story, and like slight puzzle driven games that just are a nice chill way to end a day or end a weekend without too much thought. If you'd like to watch the first full hour of raw gameplay, completely unedited, from when I picked up the game to create this content, you can find the link to that video in the description below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.